Welcome back, everyone. In this module, we're going to take a look at JSON and how Python can work with JSON objects. Now, JSON is short for JavaScript Object Notation. If you've had any experiences with JavaScript, you'd know that JavaScript objects, as represented in these curly braces, very much like Python dictionaries. I'm not going to get into that. I'm debating whether I should create a channel and basically go over not just JavaScript, but some of the libraries such as D3.js, which is used for visualization, but that's still in the future. In this, we want to just take a look at JSON's a brief overview of it, and I want to also illustrate that things sometimes go out of date. To start with, I'm going to import the JSON library. And I have this long string, which is formatted like a JavaScript object, as you can see. And this is what it is. I have this key value, which is people, which is basically a list here. And this list includes these various fields, which itself is a dictionary here, name, Bugs Bunny, etc. So I'm going to execute this. So this people string becomes this long string, as you can see. And let's go ahead and print it so we can see it. So it read it incorrectly, which is great. I read it exactly like that. Now what I can do is I can call the JSON library and call the load_s method to load this as a JSON object into this variable data. Now this is read load_s, it's not loads, and the s is for string. There is a load method without the s, which we'll take a look at in just a moment. But let's go ahead and take a look at this, and we can see that when we say print data, it read it in just like a dictionary. In fact, this is the key, and the value, as you can see, is a list. And then you have these little keys inside of this dictionary. This list contains a dictionary. As you can see, this, for instance, email has a list as its value field. Let's take a look at the type of data. As expected, it should be a dictionary. And it is. I put a reference here for you to go and take a look at if you like to learn more about JSON, encoders, decoders, etc. But let's go ahead and take a look at this and take a look at the type of people. Now, people is a list, so this should return a list, and in fact, it is. Having seen that it's a list, we know that we can loop over a list. So let's go ahead and loop through that. So I'm going to say for person in data people. Data is this dictionary. So when I say people, then that becomes a list. We want to print a person. And it prints each element, as you can see, of people. So I have, this whole dictionary for Bugs Bunny and this whole dictionary for Daffy Duck. More loops, I can go for person in data people and print not just the person, which is the entire dictionary object, but I can look at the name portion of it, which should give us Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck. And there they are. We can also reverse the process and dump a Python object, such as a dictionary or list, into a JSON string. So let's first go ahead and remove the phone number, key, and the values prior. So I do have this key and values. I'm going to loop through, and I'm going to call the delete method to delete the phone. Let's take a look at this again, and we can see that the phone numbers were in fact removed, which is what I wanted. Now I do have this object, which is this data, this dictionary object. I want to basically dump this as a string, and the command is dump s. Again, it's not dumps, it's dump s, so dump string. So I call json.dump_s, pass to a dictionary object, and assign that to a string, and that should take care of it. I'm going to print it to see it. So there you go. It is a string now, let me just insert a cell above this and print the type of new string. And you can see it is a string that was created. Now this is a JSON string, but it doesn't look like it. So what we can do is we can use the indent, second parameter indent, to indent every level by 2 spaces, which is more like what we're used to seeing in, say, JSON. So here we are. So everything was indented 2 spaces, which makes it a lot easier to read, which is pretty cool. Now I have the key of name, I have the key of, has license, etc. What I can do is I can also sort these. I can call the sort keys option and set that equal to true. Let's do this. And there we go. So we have emails, has license, name. So it basically sorts it in that way for us if that's something that's important to us. Now, what I like to do is to read a JSON file. We read a string, which was formatted in JSON format, but I want to read this states.json. Let's take a look at the file itself, first and foremost. So I'm going to bring it up. You can see that it is a JSON formatted file. It's got the states in it. So I have states, and then I have name, Alabama, abbreviation, area codes, Alaska, Arizona, etc., etc. So this is a JSON formatted file. Great. Let's go ahead and open this. So a JSON file is open this state for reading purposes. And I'm going to have the same data variable, but I'm going to call json.load. And notice it's load, it's not load s. So I pass to it this file, and JSON will load that properly into this data variable. Let's take a look at that. And we can see that everything was brought in. Definitely doesn't look very pretty, difficult to work with. Computers have no problem with it, but we will take care of this in a moment. For one thing, for state and data states, I want to print the data. So there we go. We can print that. We can loop over these states and take a look at all their data, which again is not very friendly, which I understand. But let's just go ahead and say that I want to get the state's name, which I do have the name, and I want to get the abbreviation for those. So I can call state name and state abbreviation. Now this might be something that I can use if I need it. So here they are. These are the states with their abbreviations. I want to remove the area code and then write the rest back to a file without the area codes. So for state in data states, I'm going to delete the area codes. And let's go ahead and now print them. And we should see that the area codes are gone. I just have the name and the abbreviation, which is very cool and easy to read. So now I'm going to create a new JSON handle, and I'm going to create a states.json.json for writing purposes. So this is a file that doesn't exist right now. And I'm going to call the dump method. Notice it's not a dump s, it is a dump method because we're not dealing with a string here. And I'm going to dump this data that I've created, the last thing that we created up here, you know, removing the area codes, into this new JSON handle, which is pointing to this file. And then I'm going to close the file. All right, well, let's go ahead and do that. And the file was just created. I can see it right here. I'm going to open it up here so you can see that this is the file. Doesn't look very pretty, of course, which is fine. So we can see that this is states.json.json. Let's indent the file property. So I'm going to open this file again for writing purposes. And when you do a W, it will override everything. If you ever wanted to append, you would use A for append. When I dump it, I'm going to use the indent option to indent it by 2 places each level. So I just did that, and the file was recreated. Let's double click it to open it up. And you can see that this is much nicer for us wanting to read it. So indented, everything is beautiful. Okay, and the Python did that. The Python did all that work for us. This brings us to me wanting to show you some real world examples. Now when I wrote this a while back, this was working, but I decided to keep it just to show you that sometimes things that do work, later on the API breaks and it doesn't work. So I wanted to work with this city bank in New York, which had this API exposed here, if you will, but it doesn't work right now. I'm going to do a shift enter to import JSON, and the URL library request import URL open to open this URL, which was a JSON data. And if I do this, you're going to get an error message. Take a look. So there we go. So there is a problem. I need to go and check it out, which I might do at a later point, and create another video for it. It looks like it has been removed. It says HTTP error 404 not found. So the page is not there. So unfortunately, none of these work either. However, the second example, which is dealing with Yahoo Financials, still does work. It does require that you install the Yahoo Financials library. So if I do exclamation point pip install, if you're in a command line, don't put exclamation point. I've already done it, so mine is going to come back saying requirements already satisfied. And then from Yahoo Financials, I'm going to import Yahoo Financials with capital Y, capital F. I have these currency exchanges, euro to US, Japanese yen, Great Britain, British pound, or Great Britain pound to US dollars, etc. And what I like to do, I like to read in this information. Now, this is going to take a little bit of while. If I do Shift Enter, you see that my little circle becomes busy. This is reading. This is working. So I'm going to, once it finishes, I'm going to come back to this. All right, so that took just over a minute to finish. And as you can see, what it's returned right here for us is this dictionary style JSON stuff. JSON if you're a JavaScript person, if dictionary if you're a Python person. So return all this information, which is great. Of course, it's not easy for us to necessarily read the way it is formatted. So let's go ahead and call Yahoo Financials currencies that we have up here. This is the currencies that I created, calling Yahoo Financials and passing to it the currencies list. Okay. And then we printed all of this for 2018 August 01 to 2018 August 10th daily. So if I take this information and put it into this data variable and take a look at data, it basically takes this and formats it into a more sort of a JavaScript or JSON formatted data output, which is kind of nice. But what I like to do is I like to call the dump s method and pass to it the data and indent it by 2 places, and this makes it even easier to read. So for instance, I can see that the exchange rate for US to euro, etc., with the dates are formatted, I think, in milliseconds from the year 1970, etc. The high was 116, the low was 116.6, 169, 160. It's not a whole lot of difference, but people make millions, I understand, from these things. But in any case, I'm not a financial wizard of any kind, even nearly, that I can claim to understand all of these numbers. But this was just so you can see that you can read this information that is formatted in JSON on the web, whether it's financial or otherwise. You can read it in, and Python's JSON library allows you to do that. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and you're more familiar with now with working with JSON formatted files. Thank you for being a great audience. If you're enjoying these, please share with loved ones and friends. I'll see you in the next video.